Hi everyone, in this episode of How Do You Do That, we're going to go over how I actually grade a shot from start to finish. So what we're going to do first is let's have a look at my desktop. And now we can see here, this is the shots where we've got all Blackmagic RAW files here. And we can now come over and see, okay, this is quite a dark scene. We've got everything all set up here. So what I want to do here is, in this shot, let's come over and just look at the shot first and see what has to be done. Now, a lot of people actually use a node tree, a fixed tree that they start off with. I prefer not to do that. I actually like to have the nodes in the configuration that I need for each shot. And sometimes it's always a different amount of nodes that's required. Now, what I'm going to do here is I look at the shot, and now I want to make a pretty basic correction for to start off with. When I start off with looking at the Blackmagic RAW file, as you can see, it's very dark and bluish. But what I'm doing then is adding a serial node with a base correction on it. So then what I want to do is add a second node and give it a slight bluish tint. But by putting these nodes in sequence allows me to isolate the lava because I have neutralized the grade in node number 1. And then afterwards I can add my subsequent effects into the shot. And that's how I'm actually using the serial nodes to work for me. I could also do this with parallel nodes, but I usually prefer working with serial nodes. And now what we have here is on the desktop, you can see my correction that I've created. And now I can then go through and compose from that point forward. Okay, so here what we want to do is now add a second serial node. Now we have our second serial node, and now we can start to compose the look that we want to create. And now what we'll do here is we want to create a dark bluish look for the entire scene. So what I'm going to do here first is, since I've got a good correction coming in with a lot of saturation, I can pretty do anything I want to with this. So as you can see when I come over it, now the area that I want to concentrate on is right here. So as you can see, I've got the fellow in the picture, I've got the volcanic lava coming up, and like so. So what I'm going to do here now is darken the picture down a little bit using the gamma control. So it makes it a much more harder picture this way. And just come over and then create that bluish look like that. So now you can see the bluish look that I've created into the picture. And then we want to maybe darken it down a little bit. So what I can do then is now take my gain trackball and also my gain ring around the trackball to bring the gain down and create more of a bluish look in the highlights. So now we're looking pretty good here now. Now the director says to me, yeah, it's looking pretty good, but can you bring the lava up a little bit? I want to have it a little bit more red in that area. And so that's easy enough to do by adding another serial node at the end. And now with that serial node, I can then come over to my qualifier control here, and then bring my eyedropper here into this area with the eyedropper, and then I can just click on this, highlight it to see how much I'm actually getting. Now as you can see, I'm getting quite a good area of it, but if I increase the width here, I can get a little bit more. So what I'm going to do here is just increase that, just pump it up a little bit like so. Now I'm getting a little bit of his helmet too. Now I'm going to try and minimize that by just using the saturation and luminance controls. Now, if that doesn't work, then I can also use a window in this area. So that's a pretty easy thing to do. So what I can do here then is within this node, we'll add a circular window here. And we'll just do one over the whole top part of the picture. So as you can see here, all I see is this helmet. So what I want to do then is just reverse it. So now all I'm seeing is the lava. So now what I can do here is come out of highlight. And now everything looks the same, but then I can come over to my saturation control in the bottom and just bring that up. As you can see here, by turning it up, I can make that just as high as I want to. Now the thing to remember is that when you're working with high saturation levels, always think about too when you have a legal or illegal colors that you're dealing with. So what you can do here is change your scopes now to vector scope, and then you can come over here, and as you can see, that's a little bit too bright there in the saturation. So I'm going to bring it down just to about there, something like that. So now maybe the director then says to me, Blake, I'd like to put a little bit of a vignette around the corner and darken the areas. So what we can do then is add another node here, a fourth node, and then here we can then come over, create something like this. And then what we do here is, once again, we want to swap the in points and out points, because the node is showing me exactly what is going on at that point. So what I want to do is actually reverse this. So I click here on the invert button. So now it's happening just on the outside. Now if I take my gain control and turn it down, you're now seeing that part of the picture done. I can then really increase the softening here. So this way, if I come out of this and look at it, as you can see, this area is a bit darker, even when I come out of it like so, but this area still remains light inside. Now, if he says to me, oh gee, I want to work on the inside too, what you can do here is you right mouse click on this particular node, and then come over here, and if you say add node, and then come to the bottom and then select add outside. Now what this does is this adds another node, but as you can see, it connects the alpha channel. So thereby it allows you to correct the reverse of this shot. So instead of affecting outside, it's affecting inside. So when I select this one, as you can see now, I'm affecting this part of the picture. Okay, so now we're looking pretty good on this shot. You can use LUTs if you want to. I personally don't use LUTs unless I absolutely have to. Sometimes when I'm doing a movie, I require a calibration LUT so that what I see on the screen when I'm grading in the grading theater is what I get when I finish. But under normal circumstances, I try to avoid using LUTs whenever possible. And as you can see here, I started out with just one node in my node tree, and then afterwards I ended up with 5. And this way I can allocate exactly what I want to do in each node. Sometimes I'll have 5 nodes, sometimes I'll have 3, sometimes I'll have 6. What you can do is, if you want to have a fixed node tree, then what I usually will do is create a power grade and then apply that in the shot, and then my node tree is already applied to it, and then I can apply whatever I want to inside there. Another thing to consider is when you're working with files such as Blackmagic RAW or even RED files, is you've got the decode options. So these can show up in your preferences that will affect your entire project, or you can click simply on the Camera Raw button in the graphic user interface, and then you can change the decode options on a scene-by-scene basis. Now, for example, if your computer isn't up to playing back, for example, 6K or 8K files in real time, you can then bump the decode quality down a bit. Now there is a little trick that you can do it this way, but when you render out, what you have to do is you come over to the deliver page, and there's an option that always says force debarring to the highest quality, and that will give you the best quality images when you're exporting from the system. So there we have it. So for more information about training services, have a look in the comments below, and have a look at the other videos on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot.